Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is? Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. For those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. It would be greatly appreciated. Please help me keep those likes higher than the dislikes. But over to the point. One of my subscribers linked me over on the Facebook fan page a screenshot of Bret Contreras this week. The glute guy, the glute guru, the glute doctor, whatever he calls himself these days. Basically implying that the deadlift is not a good glute exercise and that you should do these other movements. He's like, Jason, you're going to be upset by this. The deadlift is your favorite lift. Of course the deadlift's my favorite lift because I care about strength. I'm a strength guy. I deadlift. All my clients deadlift. I prescribe deadlifts in every program. Now, does that mean that I disagree with Bret here? No. Why would we ever do the deadlift as a hypertrophy exercise? I mean, I've written stuff on it. We can treat it that way. Not necessarily the best way to do things. It's not the best way to do things. I have prescribed it a long time ago in the past that way. I don't do it these days. I haven't done it in years. I don't train the deadlift particularly as a hypertrophy exercise. Maybe one workout in the last year I've done some actual rep work with it. One, and that was after missing a heavy pull. I did like some sets of 10 on a sumo deadlift with 405. I don't train it that way. Deadlift is not a hypertrophy exercise. It has a very bad stimulus to fatigue ratio. Yet I train the deadlift. You guys see me right now. I pull what to a max about once every 4 days. But that's all I do with it. I pull to a max of some type of deadlift variation to a single rep, and then I do a bunch of volume of smaller exercises that build up all the muscles of the deadlift. Here's my point. Sorry guys, my nose itches there. Here's my point. I love the deadlift. The deadlift is a phenomenal test of strength. It's a phenomenal way to learn to develop maximum strength. It's a phenomenal way to learn to strain. It is an essential movement pattern for strength purposes. Strength meaning the production of force against an external object. I don't train it for hypertrophy. Bret's technically right there. I would never use the deadlift for my clients and say, we're going to use the deadlift to get really big. No, we're going to build all the other muscles with other exercises. Build all the muscles of the deadlift with other exercises that are easier to recover from, that we can do 10 sets of 10 reps every single week on. Right? We can do 5 sets of 10. You can do 5 sets of 10 twice a week on good mornings. You can do all that stuff. You can do that. You can't do that on deadlift. Best of luck with that. We use all these other exercises, then we use the deadlift to test our strength. Or we use it to help develop speed strength. Let's say we're doing it as part of our dynamic effort work. We'll do speed boxes first, and that's going to be our most important training tool there, right? Speed squats. Then we'll do speed deadlifts behind. Why? Because it's a movement that we can train dynamically due to the nature of it, like a sumo deadlift. It's got an explosive component when done correctly as speed work, particularly against things like bands. We can use it to train speed strength. We can use it to train explosiveness. But even then, we're using it as a second exercise for that. We can use it to display strength. We can use it to learn to display maximum strength. We can use it to learn how to strain against a heavy object. Because it's a legitimate test of strength. Deadlift is one of the most phenomenal tests of strength. Of everything from your grip. That's why I say straps don't count. I don't care about your strap deadlift. I don't care. Irrelevant. You're not strong enough to pick it up. You need straps. It's a test of your grip strength, your entire back, and your posterior chain. That is what is it a test of. But how do you develop strength in those areas? It's not the best way to do it. It's got a terrible stimulus to fatigue ratio. Yes, it hits all of those muscles. It's hard to recover from. Again, you're not going to do 10 sets of 10 with heavy weight on a deadlift every week. And if you do, you're still going to grow slower because you could have done 3 other exercises with that same amount of recovery, right? It's not ideal. And I'm saying that as someone who thinks the deadlift is the greatest exercise of all time, from learning to develop strength, learning and testing strength. That's what it's great for. So we hypertrophy all these muscles. Now, here's a question I would ask. You guys know that I have about a 600 deadlift right now. I'm in that range with multiple deadlift variations all the time. You'll see me do them week in, week out. Did I develop that because I deadlift heavy all the time? No, I've gone long periods of time with no heavy deadlifting. I've gone long periods of time with no real volume deadlifting or heavy deadlifting. My deadlift still builds up. Why? Because I built the muscles to do it. I have big glutes, hamstrings, and erectors and traps. Okay? I built them with other exercises. Well, what do I do? You guys see me do box squats? I did a ton of box squats. I don't even do those for volume now either, do I? Why? Because that's a big, heavy movement. That's a big, heavy movement too, isn't it? I use it to display my strength, to learn to strain. I build all the muscles up for my big lifts with hypertrophy exercises right now. So what do? Good mornings. Glute bridges. Shrugs. Chin-ups. I do an insane amount of chin-ups. And yes, that does contribute to the deadlift muscles. That is definitely part of it. Why? Because lats, traps, grip strength. Most of my grip strength comes from chins. I do 100 chin-ups every day. Every day, 7 days a week. 100 chin-ups. You weigh 220, that'll build your grip. Okay. When we do those exercises, I do glute ham raises. Those are the 5 lifts I use to build my deadlift right now. I don't build my deadlift up by doing deadlift. I do 1 rep. Okay, granted, it's several reps because I ramp it up and just keep making 20-pound jumps. 1 rep, you're not hypertrophying from that. Not significantly. It might add to your total weekly volume in a very, very small way. What do you guys see me doing? I do tons of good mornings. Right? We do good mornings. We do glute bridges, glute ham raises, shrugs, chin-ups. And I do a lot of volume on those. Those are like sets of 10. Okay? These are lots of sets of 10. And a lot of those exercises, we're talking 10 or 15 sets a week of those. That's why I can deadlift. I built up my entire posterior chain and thoracicolumbar sling using these other movements. That will build a deadlift. Now, do you still need to practice some heavy deadlifting? Yes. But why do we practice the heavy deadlift? To learn to strain against a heavy object. Because in order to display maximum strength, you have to actually practice lifting against maximal strength. It teaches you how to find your leverages. Okay? We lift heavy to learn skeletal muscular coordination. To learn how to struggle and strain to find our levers against really heavy weight. Because that is how we develop maximum strength. And that's how you develop it. The deadlift is a tool for displaying and developing maximum strength. It is not the best exercise to build any given muscle up. I don't care whether it's the hamstrings or the glutes or anything else. And I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. But let's go to the other point. I think everyone should be developing maximum strength. I think every athlete has a need to learn to develop maximum strength. So we should still be deadlifting, but you need to understand the place and the role of the deadlift. It is not a high volume exercise. It is an exercise we use to develop certain performance elements and to test performance elements. Because if we can test these elements, we can see where our weak links are. And we know where we need to add more muscle. We look and see, are my glutes a weak link in my deadlifting and my pulling from the floor? Do I need more glute training? So he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I'm actually agreeing. And I'm agreeing as someone who loves the deadlift. Now, the point I will make when people say this stuff, if your goal is just to develop your glutes, look, I don't speak to that audience. I don't care. When someone says their only goal is hypertrophy and they don't care about other stuff, I'm not interested in helping them. That's not part of my world. I think that's ridiculous. But let's come over to the point. Even when you're trying to maximize strength, when we are trying to maximize strength, we have to maximize hypertrophy. You can't separate the two. So if you're coming over and saying, hey, my glutes or my hamstrings or whatever muscle need a lot of additional size on them to get the performance that I want, well, the deadlift would not be my go-to for any of those. It wouldn't be. Do we want to learn how to display strength? Do we want to test our strength? Do we want to test our strength to check for weak links? Deadlift's phenomenal. But it's not a hypertrophy exercise. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.